In Infinity War, if you were probably shocked by the disappearance of half the universe, you definitely weren't the only one. Who could have seen that coming? Actually, there was one person who knew what was going to happen, and that's Ultron. In fact, Ultron knew exactly what was going to happen from the moment he arrived in the MCU. And yet, we encouraged the Avengers to fight his plan and wipe him from the internet. Hey everyone, and welcome to House of Marvel for a new video. Today, we're going to go over the events of the Age of Ultron, his plan, and we're also going to prove that he knew about Thanos from the very beginning. Get your coffee ready, make yourself comfortable. I'm Julian, and you're watching House of Marvel. First, let's talk about Ultron's plan to end the world, and more importantly, why. He was convinced it was the only way to save the planet. Ultron was designed as a peacekeeping program to help the Avengers protect Earth from alien invasions. Tony created him because he thought we weren't enough and not well armed enough against threats coming from space. After connecting to the internet, Ultron also realized that the Avengers weren't enough to face that kind of threat. So he decided to bypass the team and create permanent world peace in his own way. After being activated, Ultron discovers and learns a simple truth. Humans are complex, with too many different points of view. Languages, tribes, countries, there'll always be a war. So he makes a simple equation. To create peace, he has to remove the extra variables. It's a simple binary decision, war or peace. So he decides to destroy human civilization. But to understand Ultron's motivations, we first need to understand his logic. In this film, there are actually 5 visions of the future that all MCU fans have dissected, frame by frame. But Ultron's is often overlooked because it shows and proves the internal logic that guides him for the rest of the film. The first feeling he experiences is fear, followed by curiosity. But immediately, he detects a problem with his basic programming. He doesn't understand. Remember Tony's last order? Before, successful integration meant peace in our time. So let's pause here for a moment. Do you know who that quote is from? It's Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, after making a deal with the Nazis, promising to avoid war, save lives, and create peace in our time. We all know that didn't work out. So Ultron receives this order and immediately detects the flawed history that followed that statement. He investigates further, starting with images of peace. Soon, he sees that the peace sign is also a hand gesture for victory achieved after war. So humans can only achieve peace as a result of war. The problem, as Ultron soon discovers, is that peace achieved by ending war never lasts. It just creates a lull before the next war, while waiting for the other side to strike back. He refers to this later in the movie, saying, "Everyone creates the thing they dread. Men of peace create engines of war. Invaders create Avengers." But Ultron wants to give meaning to his mission, so he studies the life forms he's supposed to protect. At this point, he examines the history and art of the human race. This shows Ultron that humans have technical and scientific knowledge, but lack moral clarity to use technology for the good of others. We also see the portrait of the founder of the American colony of Rhode Island, Roger Williams, greeting the native tribe for the first time, Narragansett. Williams negotiated peace with this tribe, which lasted about 40 years, until he was massacred by the colonists. We also see the unification of Berlin, Russian President Boris Yeltsin meeting George Bush, but then images of the Iraq War that George Bush led following the September 11, 2001 attacks. This contradiction is made explicit with the quote from Iram Johnson, "The first casualty of war is truth." The problem is that Ultron approached us the wrong way. Tony said, "Peace in our time," and he said it ironically, fully aware of the original context of that quote. But Ultron doesn't understand irony, so he takes the mission literally. However, these aren't the only factors that make him decide to flip humanity's off switch. He also discovers that the Avengers are deeply flawed organic life forms. Ultron looked into the Avengers' past, how they barely managed to come together to save the world before. Then he runs predictive analyses to determine that no matter what, the Avengers will fail to protect Earth. And he's absolutely right. The movie starts with the Avengers at the height of era, completely united in power. Then they slowly drift apart and, like Ultron, are forced to evolve into a new form. Ultron didn't want to defeat the Avengers, he wanted to expose their flaws to show that there was a better way to succeed. Ultron's monologue about creators being replaced by their creations is really interesting. Everyone creates the thing they fear. People create children destined to replace them, to help them finish out their lives. Ultron gave himself the same purpose. To replace the Avengers as guardians of world peace, he says it himself, there's only one path to peace, the extinction of the Avengers. His reasoning is that he'll be better equipped to protect Earth because there's no discord between him and the Avengers. And there never could be any. By getting into the minds of Thor, Banner, and Tony, Wanda seems to show them visions. And remember, Ultron is also connected to the Mind Stone. You see where I'm going with this? And what if Wanda's experience with the Mind Stone accidentally gave her the ability to show the future to Thor, Bruce, and Tony? Then it's possible that the Mind Stone also revealed the future to Ultron. The question I'm asking is, how would he have known that the stone was inside Loki's scepter? Or how did he control it without touching it? So we can assume he had a vision similar to Thor's. He would have seen that an intergalactic threat was approaching Earth, Thanos, and that he wanted to acquire the Mind Stone. So he decided to build a body for himself. A vision he could have used to protect the stone. Because if you think about it for a second, the body created by Ultron is the same one Thor saw in his vision. Here, this glimpse of the future could be the reason why Ultron designed Vision to look like the one Thor saw through the stone. So Ultron copies the being that the Mind Stone showed him. He even hinted that a celestial threat was coming to Earth. But let's go even further. Wanda's ability to show visions of the future implies that she also has the powers of the Time Stone. And we've already seen Drive. Strange uses Stone to calculate likely alternate futures in Infinity War. Maybe Ultron, a supercomputer powered up by an Infinity Stone, had the same ability to perform those same calculations. But he was unable to foresee Wanda's betrayal because of her reality-altering powers. In the Vision sequence, we see that the Mind Stone not only enhanced Wanda's powers, but also showed her a vision of Scarlet, which her future self. It's very possible that the stone spoke to Ultron as well, showing him his own vision. Given that Ultron has a huge ego, he would have misinterpreted this and thought that this body, Vision, was meant for him. You think that's a stretch? Maybe, probably. But let's test this theory. Let's take a closer look at Ultron's plan. Ultron would have created a new body to make himself better in a fight against Thanos. Ultron doesn't want to kill everyone on Earth, he wants to rid the world of the weak. And in your opinion, who would survive this apocalypse? People with superpowers? People like Wanda and Pietro? Potential soldiers he could shape into a perfect fighting unit against the coming cosmic threat. After Wanda and Pietro told Ultron their origin story about the shell in their living room, he says, "I was wondering why only the two of you survived Strucker's experiments." No, I don't wonder. That's a strange line. In context, it sounds like he's saying, okay, you survived because you hated Tony Stark so much, but WandaVision revealed that they survived because Wanda had developed supernatural abilities. By the way, I invite you to watch this video where we explain that the young ex-mutant Wanda's powers were greatly enhanced through contact with the stone during the experiments, but also how this X gene was activated during that near-death experience in her youth. Getting back to Ultron's line, I think he understood that. He calculated the probability that a Stark shell would fail. He knew that the shell could only fail if it was made to fail by a superhuman like Wanda. So he recruits Wanda and Pietro into his overpowered army. Now let's talk about the different pieces of evidence that, from Ultron's point of view, the Avengers were unfit to defend the Earth. The two leaders of the team, Tony and Steve, are complete opposites. Even in the very first scene, Steve questions Tony's morality. They don't just disagree on strategy, they argue about why they're even fighting. Steve ends up reprimanding and judging Tony throughout the whole movie, while Banner and Natasha are each wrestling with their own inner demons, trying to prove to themselves that they're not monsters. Thor, as an Asgardian, has a blight history on Earth, considering the thousands of Asgardians who went to war in his name. In fact, if you look closely, the main villain of this film isn't Ultron, it's the Avengers' own fears and insecurities. Tony is clearly imperfect. He manipulates Thor into staying longer, not out of friendship, but so he can dissect the Mind Stone. Just a few days until the farewell party. Ultron wants to use Vision's body to become the leader of the new human race. Yes, it's because he has an oversized ego. And just as a reminder, he was created by Stark, but it's also because he knows he can gather humanity's greatest force against its greatest upcoming threat, Thanos. The flaw that caused Ultron to fail was obeying his programming too literally. He was trying to create permanent peace on Earth because he was unable to recognize the beauty in something fleeting. But the beautiful contradictions of humanity, music, art, war, are fleeting and special. What Ultron missed is that something isn't beautiful because it lasts. Now it's your turn to give me your opinion. What do you think of this theory? Let me know in the comments, and don't hesitate to send me your thoughts. I love reading yours and debating them with you. And as always, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and share your thoughts in the comments. Also, to make sure you don't miss my next videos, subscribe and turn on notifications. See you next time on House of Arvel.